Hemingway, the only thing I read in high school was The Sun Also Rises. And that was pretty good that I read for me at the time. Now I read more into it and I love it. But back then I was like, this is pretty good. And then I tried to read Farewell to Arms and I was like, this is too depressing. I have to stop this. There's a lot going on. And I would just stick to his short stories, The Green Hills in Africa, or like other little vignettes that he would write that I would find. But I really loved, who's the guy that wrote Oranges? Let me look him up. John McPhee. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, John who?
John McPhee.
Oh, John McPhee, sure. He's another
So
New Yorker writer.
so I feel like there are two different types of writers I'm attracted to. One is the Toni Morrison, ornate, over the top, overflowing with color and life. And then the other is more the E.B. White, very precise, John McPhee, like I'm telling you this, John Updike, listing a lot of Johns, but like on that realm. And I feel like I fluctuate between those two polarities, either like this ornate, lush writing I get interested in with Audre Lorde, and then like James Baldwin is sort of in the middle, where he has these ornate things like Go Tell on the Mountain, but also he has a lot of New Yorker pieces, a lot of essays about film and cinema that fall more on the side of just muscular prose. And I feel like I'm always going between reading those two styles. But early on, my dad would drive around and listen to books on tape. And I think we listened to John McPhee's Oranges like several times. When we started it, I was like, it's about oranges, who cares? But that's the brilliance of a great storyteller, is they could just tell you about the history of oranges. And you're like, oh my God, this is fascinating. And I relate to this, and they're not trying to necessarily relate to an audience. They're just going so deep into a subject and finding their curiosity and love that you sort of run alongside them. And I prefer that to a writer like placating the audience or explaining something, rather than a writer just writing through their curiosity and discovering as they're writing deeper and deeper facts and information and narratives about oranges and the history of America and Florida in particular. And so that was like a huge kickoff. I remember I was in the pediatrics office when I was in kindergarten, and there was a New Yorker there, and I picked it up, and there was a long article about Mikhail Gorbachev and where he came from, his hometown. And I just started reading that. And they were all like the kids' magazines. I was reading like the New Yorker, like Mikhail Gorbachev, his hometown. And I vaguely knew that Mikhail Gorbachev was a guy with a spot on his head. He was head of Russia. But this, once again, this writer went so in depth. You could tell the amount of research and time spent, that you just get lost in this world of like finding Mikhail Gorbachev's hometown in a USSR that's very covered up and doesn't want you to know where their leaders come from. And so I always sort of return to those models, or I find myself falling in love with those stories where you find out about Jewish photographer Andy Sweet, who was killed at the age of 26, 28, who photographed Jewish life in Miami in the 70s, and it was killed in 82. And like discovering that story last week and falling into that world are the things I like to do as a reader and then as a writer as well.